that he left. But he said, it is going to come to light that the reason that I did what I did is not for the reasons that people think. And that actually came true, because people thought it was because of his depression. But he was actually diagnosed with, not Alzheimer's, it was, what's the other one?
What was it, motor neuron disease?
Yeah.
MS?
Well, yeah.
Parkinson's?
But we didn't know at the time that's what he had. And he said it will come to light that was actually the reason. He said, I couldn't live with that.
Oh.
You know, and it was very sad. But it was quite funny, because where we actually were ended up sitting was the first place where he did his original stand-up, which I can't remember the name of the club now, but he told me at the time. But one thing he did say, when we were sitting on the stage, he said, see that little booth to the left there? And I went, yeah. And he goes, that's called the John Wilkes booth. And I went, oh, okay. And he said, you're going to wake up from this and you're going to think this is all a dream, but it's not a dream. And he said, and I'll tell you why. He said, I'm going to tell you a little secret. And I said, okay. And I said, what's that? And he goes, Hitler had a son. No one knows this, but it's true. He said, do your homework. Hitler had a son. And I'm like, okay. It was really quite bizarre. So when I woke up from the dream, I actually started doing some research, and it was true. Adolf Hitler actually had a son. When he was studying art, when he was in Paris, he actually had a little bit of a dalliance with a French girl and impregnated her. And she had a son.
I just can't imagine Hitler having a dalliance.
I know, a dalliance. Yeah, I know. It's a bit
Doesn't work,
of
does it?
But I just thought, what a bizarre thing. I mean, that is something that would be so remote from anything I would think of. And he planted that little seed just to validate that this what was happening between he and I was real.
Has the identity of that child been released then? Because I wouldn't, if I was his son, you know, the name of...
Apparently,
I wouldn't want to be...
he passed away, apparently, in the early 90s, and his mother kept it from him for quite some time, who his real father was, and he was not happy when he found out who his father was, as you wouldn't be.
No, not really.
But how bizarre is that?
Have you got a book?
Yes, I do, actually. Oddly enough, this book is called Life After Death, and it's written by Neville Randall. And what actually happens, it's more like a recorded or documented memoir of a group of mediums that have been meeting for quite a substantial amount of years, and they meet and meditate, and they call in spirits to talk and communicate with them.
Yep.
And they believe that they were able to communicate with Oscar Wilde, Dame Ellen Terry, and the former Archbishop of Canterbury from 1975.
Wow.
I won't tell you what the content is because it will spoil the reading, but the bit that drew me in, first of all, because it's quite an old book, was at the end of the Second World War, a few weeks before ceasefire was called. I think, when did it end? Was it 1915 or 1919?
No, not 18.
Yeah.
1918, that's right. This young guy, it even mentioned the name of the guy and the battalion or what army regiment he was in, and this young guy came back to tell them that he was in the fire, in the line of fire. They were all in bunkers. It was not long after they'd been playing football and all this kind of stuff. So they knew their enemy, and they'd been in the bunkers for months and months and months.
Trenches.
Yes, the trenches, thank you. And they literally kind of got to know the enemy, you know, because they used to throw notes to each other and things like that. And he explained this in the story, but he said that sadly, when he got out of the bunker, and obviously he had to go towards the enemy and shoot, he kept running, and he could hear the bullets passing by him, and would look down, and his comrades had fallen, or they'd be crying out for help, or somebody, you know, they'd be dead. And then he would sit, he went and sat, you know, not by a tree, and sat there for a few minutes. I thought, this is great, nobody shot me. But then he realised that he had been shot and he died.
Oh, wow.
And he must have run for half a mile before he realised that, you know, no longer...
In a physical body.
Yeah,
wow.
So it's quite interesting.
Ooh, I'm going to read that one.
Yeah, fantastic. I'll lend you the book.
Thank you.
Yeah, might cost you a bottle of Bolly.
Damn you.
Expensive show, this.
I know.
That's the end of our third episode. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, The Numinous Factor. You can also email us at thenuminousfactor@hotmail.com or find us on Facebook. Until next week, our quote of the day is, use your smile to change the world. Don't let the world change your smile. And next week on episode 4, our topic will be, what is heaven like? And we'll have a special guest. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Where's the rum?